I took the same train every day. This routine was a breather for me while commuting to work. I would always see the same people on the train. A young man listening to music on his headphones. A middle-aged woman lost in thought with a book in her hand. An old grandfather dozing off in a corner. Everything was so normal that I never thought anything could disrupt this routine. Until that day. That day, I was sitting on the train as usual, looking at my phone. Suddenly, I saw something reflected in the window. Behind me, a woman with long hair was standing with her head bowed. Her hair completely covered her face, and she was motionless. I felt a chill run through me. I slowly turned around, but no one was there. Only the usual passengers were on the train. When I looked at the window again, the woman was still there. This time, she slowly raised her head and looked into my eyes. Her face was pale, and her eyes were completely black. There was no expression, just a blank stare. My heart began to race. I quickly got up and moved to another carriage. But every time I looked out the window, the woman was there. It was as if she were moving with me. I decided to get off the train. When we approached the station, the doors opened and I jumped out quickly. But the reflection in the glass was still there. The woman looked like she had just gotten off the train and was looking at me. From that day on, started seeing him everywhere. In the mirror of my house, on the windows of my workplace, even on the screen of my phone. Each time, he would get closer. I couldn't sleep anymore. I would even see him in my dreams. One night, when I woke up, I saw his silhouette in the corner of my room. When I turned on the light, there was no one there. But when I looked in the mirror, he was still there. One day, I couldn't stand it anymore and went to a friend. I told her everything. She didn't believe me, but she tried to calm me down. I decided to stay at her house. That night, when I went to the bathroom, saw her in the mirror. This time, there was a smile on her face. I heard my friend's voice. "Is everything okay?" she asked. When I looked in the mirror, the woman was no longer there. But on my friend's face, there was that pale expression and black eyes. "I found you," she said. The next day, I found myself on the train. The usual passengers were there. A young man listening to music on his headphones. A middle-aged woman lost in thought with a book in her hand. An old grandfather dozing in a corner. But this time, they had those pale expressions and black eyes. They were all looking at me. "Welcome," they said in unison. Since that day, I have been on the train. Every day, new passengers come, and they are like me. The reflection they see in the mirrors draws them here. And now, you are reading this story. Be careful. If you see something reflected in the glass, do not turn back, because it has already found you. I had just finished the night shift. The fatigue of working on my feet for hours had settled on me. The weather was cold and rainy. I opened my umbrella and walked towards the station. I didn't want to miss the last train. If I did, I would have to wait another hour, and that hour would delay my return to my warm bed at home. When I arrived at the station, the train was right on time. When I stepped inside, I saw only a few people on the train. After a long day, I was pleased with the silence. I sat in a seat at the back and leaned my head against the window. The rhythmic sound of the train was lulling me to sleep. As I closed my eyes, I felt safe for a moment. But then, the train stopped suddenly. When I opened my eyes, I realized that my surroundings were completely empty. The other passengers had gone. When I looked outside, I saw a station I didn't recognize. There were no lights in the station, only darkness and silence. When I looked out the window, I realized that the station was deserted. The walls were covered in moss and the rails were rusty. The air was heavy and damp, and I had a feeling that I wasn't supposed to be there. I decided to get off the train. I thought maybe there was an attendant, but just as I was heading for the doors suddenly started to close. I quickly went back inside and the train started to move. As I was leaving the station, I looked back. In that dark station, I saw a silhouette. It was like someone was standing there and looking at me. But the train sped away and the silhouette disappeared. When I got home, I found myself still shaking. I lay down in bed, but I couldn't sleep. The feeling in that station was eating away at me. In the morning, I opened the newspaper and saw the headline, bodies found in abandoned station. My heart began to beat rapidly as I read the news. The bodies belonged to passengers who had boarded the last train. All of them had disappeared the night before, and all of them had frozen expressions of fear on their faces. From that day on, I started having the same dream every night. And my dream was in that abandoned station. The train was stopping and the doors were opening. I knew I had to get out, but something was keeping me inside. Then, that silhouette appeared. It was slowly walking towards me. Every night, it was getting closer. I was afraid to sleep now. One night, I was so nervous in my dream that I woke up and found myself on a train. I didn't remember how I got there. The train stopped at that abandoned station again. The doors opened and I knew I had to get out. But this time, my inner voice was telling me, run. When the doors started to close, I quickly got back inside. But this time, the train didn't move. The lights went out and I was surrounded by complete darkness. At that moment, I heard a voice from behind. I turned slowly and saw the silhouette. This time was closer. I could see its face. It had pale, sunken cheeks and completely black eyes. It walked towards me and said, "This is your last stop." The next day, there was a new news in the newspaper. Another body found in abandoned station. The body belonged to a passenger who had boarded the last train. There was a frozen expression of fear on his face. And that corpse was me.